21 minutes after the hour, joined now by United States Senator Tom Cotton, who I watched earlier today with Wolf Blitzer on the in the Situation Report room. Senator Cotton, welcome back. Good to talk to you.
Good evening, Hugh. It's great to be on with you, as always.
Hey, before we get serious, I'm not doing any April Fool's jokes with you because I already punked my entire audience today. I want to ask you about the Final Four. We've got Kentucky, which is the evil empire led by Darth Vader. We've got Luke Skywalker, Wisconsin. We got Princess Leia, his twin sister in green from Michigan State. And then we have Han Solo and Duke and Coach K. Who are you calling?
Two all great programs. I think Kentucky's been a juggernaut all season long, but I also deeply respect Coach K and Tom Izzo and what Wisconsin has done as well. I have to say I'm a Tom Izzo fan, so I'm going to call it upset, Michigan State.
Going with Princess Leia.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Now, serious story. I just went through the Wall Street Journal story, and it seems to me as though even the White House is getting ready to declare these negotiations a sham and a farce. I'm hopeful about that. What do you sense?
We're now 2 days past the deadline that Barack Obama himself said that we were not going to pass, which just goes to show what a position of weakness from which we're negotiating. The Chinese, Russian, and French foreign ministers all left Lausanne yesterday because Iran, in its intransigence and duplicity, is no closer to a deal, frankly, than they were 16 months ago. So I think the administration should walk away from the table. You have to be willing to walk away from the table on a negotiation if you're going to get a good deal. To reimpose the sanctions that were suspended under the Joint Plan of Action, they should ask Congress to impose even tighter sanctions. We should put the pressure back on Iran and make it clear that we will accept nothing besides the complete nuclear disarmament of the world's worst state-sponsored terrorism.
Now, Senator Cotton, even if that position wasn't the Obama administration position, their position was, at least 18 months ago, that most of the highly enriched uranium had to go to Russia to be reprocessed. Iran appears to have reneged on that as of last week, and we still stayed at the table. Honestly, it is a farce.
Hugh, there's been a long series of concessions over the last 16 months, and I won't rehearse all of them, but just in the last week, there have been two incredible concessions. You cite one. Iran had long agreed to export its stockpiles of enriched uranium to a third country, most likely Russia, to give assurances that they would not feed that uranium back into the centrifuges to enrich it to weapons-grade quality. Lastly, they just double-crossed the United States negotiating team, and we sat there and we were apparently willing to accept it. Second, Iran insisted that they be able to use uranium enrichment centrifuges in the underground fortified military bunker outside of Fort Al, which Barack Obama himself has said they could not possibly have any reason to do so. And yet the United States negotiating team was apparently willing to let Iran use that facility. Those are just two recent and potentially catastrophic concessions that the administration has been willing to make. That's why they should walk away from the table now, say all the past concessions are no longer operative, as always happens when negotiations break down, negotiate from a position of strength, and start over with new terms.
Now, Senator Cotton, sometimes it's important, especially for the Steelers fans among us, to go back to first principles. Why is it so important that the Khomeinis not have a nuclear weapons capacity?
Hugh, the problem with Iran is the nature of its regime. We have countries all around the world that have industrial nuclear capacities, Germany and Japan, for instance. They don't have nuclear weapons. Few people lose sleep at night about their nuclear industrial capacities, though, because they are constitutional democracies. Iran is a theocratic tyranny that has been killing Americans for 35 years, that is exporting terror all around the world, that has the blood of hundreds of American soldiers on its hands, that has a very nasty habit of killing Jews, whether they're in Israel or Bulgaria or Argentina or anywhere else around the world. And as we speak tonight, is currently destabilizing Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. The problem with Iran is the nature of their regime, and they do all of that without nuclear weapons and with tens of billions of dollars in assets frozen because of sanctions. Imagine what they would do if they got a nuclear umbrella and if they got all that money.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Now, you are a soldier, Senator, as is President El-Sisi of Egypt. I don't know when you are next going abroad or if you intend to get President El-Sisi on your agenda, but it seems to me that the most important strategic ally we have outside of Israel in the Middle East is General al-Sisi, President al-Sisi. And even the president called him yesterday. Do you think there's some hope here that maybe the president's doing a Jimmy Carter in the last 2 years and figuring out who his friends are?
Well, General al-Sisi has made many moves that we should encourage. In January, he gave a speech at one of the Islamic world's oldest universities of deep and rich learning tradition, calling for a revolution inside of Islam. And not the bad kind of revolution, the good kind, a kind that would introduce moderating influences, that would say the peaceful Muslims all around the world, which are a vast majority of Muslims, need to stand up and oppose radical Islamic terror. Just 2 weekends ago, in an Wall Street Journal, he pointedly said Egypt will never turn its back on the United States, even if the United States turns its back on Egypt. He remains a linchpin, or I should say Egypt remains a linchpin of our overall strategic position in the Middle East because of their peace treaty with Israel, and now fighting the Islamic State on both their eastern front, Sinai, and the western front. So we should be encouraging General al-Sisi to continue with liberal reforms that respect political, civil, and human rights in Egypt, that continue to stand up to radical Sunni terror, and that help all Sunni states in the region stand up to Iran's drive for regional hegemony. So I'm glad the president finally made the right decision to transfer military weapons and other kinds of equipment to Egypt that their country has needed for a long time. And I would just say that we need to continue to support President al-Sisi's efforts to represent America's security interest in the region.
Now, Senator Khan, I want to finish by asking you on this Easter week sort of a big senatorial question. And I know the rules of the Senate are you do not attack your colleagues by name. But Senator Reid gave an interview yesterday with Dana Bash in which she said, do you regret accusing wrongly Mitt Romney of not paying taxes? And he paused and he said, well, Romney didn't win, did he? That is a classic ends justifies the means. Do you ever imagine, no matter how long you stay in Washington, that you'll ever end up having to say something like that?
Hugh, I don't think any senator will ever say something so blatantly in which the ends justify the means. Truth of a very serious criminal allegation laid at the feet of a public official. And I will simply say that I'm looking forward to wishing Harry Reid farewell next December when he leaves the Senate. And like many of my Republican colleagues and past Republican senators who have become good friends and mentors of mine, look forward to Chuck Schumer being the leader of the Democratic Conference.
Senator Cotton, on that note, have a happy Easter.